This Friday morning preview on Pucks Across Borders brought to you by First Round Collectibles on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Like I said, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off every sports card in the entire store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off dozens and dozens and dozens of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off regular priced items, but sales items as well. Do the math. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. Get any sports card you want with 10% off using our promo code Sports Addict and get 10% off regular priced and sales priced items. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever you want, they have it. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use our promo code Sports Addict for 10% off regular priced and sales price items. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And welcome to Pucks Across Borders on a Friday morning. Lots to get into from last night. 2 games to break down tonight. Welcome again to Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and our friends at Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by First Round Collectibles. I am Mark Sauter. Good to be here as always. And at the top of your screen, right next to me, you read his thoughts about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on Winners and Winers. You read his NHL analysis, amongst other sports, on TotalApexSports.com. And you see him all over Total Apex Sports talking football, basketball, baseball. Andre, how we feeling on a Friday morning, man? We made it.
We did make it. Feeling pretty good. Not much to complain about. Let's finish this week strong, even though, in my personal belief, the weekend starts on Wednesday. But we can get into that another time.
That's a world that I want to live in. Absolutely. At the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how we feeling on a Friday, bro?
Feeling pretty good, man. Always feel good on a Friday, getting ready to enter this Mother's Day weekend, and let's get some good hockey bets in.
Oh, yeah, it's Mother's Day weekend. I have a mother and a wife that's a mother, so I probably know that. I should probably remember that. Thankfully, she doesn't pay attention to anything I do on here, so I'll just act like I knew it all along. All right, moving right along. 2 games, like I said, in the NHL last night. The Rangers pull off, not quite the sweep yet, but they pull off another overtime win. Late game heroics by the Hurricanes, tie it up. And in overtime, like, did overtime even last 2 minutes? Some of these overtimes have been going by really quickly, which when it's my team, I want it to be done quickly. But when it's another team, I'm down for watching a 2-3 overtime. But we haven't got much of that. And then the Dallas Stars almost choked away back-to-back 3+ goal leads, but they staved off the Avalanche and won their game last night. Let's get to the Rangers game first. Like I said, Rangers winning in overtime. They are now up 3-0 in the series. I knew it. I could feel it. Andre, let's start with you, man. What did you see in that game last night between the Rangers and the Canes?
Last night felt like a crossroads for both teams. They've both been there before, particularly when it comes to just game 3 overtime. series is 2-0 or 0-2 in Carolina's instance. Last year, it was the Rangers in overtime against the Devils. In overtime, up 2-0. They lost the game. You know how that series went the rest of the way. That was really a huge moment in that series, which, got the coach fired, made Panarin change his game, cut his hair, all sorts of stuff. For the Canes, we know the past however many years, 5 now, was it 19 they lost, they got swept, 20 they lost in 5, 21 they lost in 5, 22 they lost game 7 at home against the Rangers. Last year they got swept to the conference finals. It's been 5 straight years where the only time you got to the finish line in one of these series that sent you home, it was against this very team in the very building where you're in overtime now. Last year, all the games were tight. Obviously, Game 3 against the Panthers was a 1-0 game. So if you're Carolina, you're thinking, can't go down 3-0 again. Can't get swept again. Got to push, whatever. So that third intermission, I don't know what happened in those locker rooms, but what happened afterwards was a very clear indication of this series, really. And it's the Rangers aren't getting all of the shots, all of the chances, but when they do, they're making Carolina sweat. When the Canes defense can't get set, it's, oh boy, the Rangers might score right here. I think Kochetkov and Anderson, for the most part, have played well. They've done everything they've needed to do. Maybe they haven't gone above and beyond, but it's more, I'd put the onus more on Carolina's offense and obviously the special teams for why this. And 3-0 isn't done. There's still one more game to win, regardless of how effective they looked afterward. But just tossing the puck to Igor's chest, tossing it low into his head, his legs, and then he could just send it to the side. It's making the puck look like a beach ball by the time it's the second period, by the time it's the third period. The reason that Jake Gensel is killing the Rangers because he's consistently moving, he's getting across Igor's face, he's deflecting the puck, he's making playoff hockey plays. The reason Artemi Panarin got the game winner is because he raced to the front of the net. Trocheck threw one, he was able to deflect it, just got the right bounce. It doesn't feel like Carolina offensively is doing enough to generate good chances. Obviously, the power play is at this point a negative for them. I was relieved third period when the Rangers were up 1 and went on the PK. So they're just not moving the puck well. They're not moving bodies well. They're not really threatening when they're a man up, at least on the power play, because 6-on-5 would be lethal. So if you're the Canes, you got to, it's in their little hashtag or whatever, you got to cause chaos. That's how you've been scoring, especially when you empty the net every time. It's a threat because you have 3 guys right in front of Igor. You can't see the puck. It's just madness. It's mayhem. It's not like that on the power play. It's not like that 5-on-5. You got to, I don't know what Rod Brindamore and that staff needs to do to get this team back to MSG, but what they're doing right now is making Igor's life very easy. And he's too good of a goalie to expect a soft win or an easy rebound, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you talked about the playoff history, the playoff history of the Canes over the last few years. You know, the famous line by Rod Brindamore last year when they got swept by the Panthers was, it wasn't really a sweep, right? Because all 4 games were close. They lost all 4 games by 1 goal. And I guess you can say the same thing about this series. The Canes, I thought in game 2 specifically, I thought the Canes played much better 5-on-5 than the Rangers did. But it is a sweep because you didn't win. Like, you can play the right way. You can play well 5-on-5. You can all you want. But if you don't get 1 more goal than the other team, then you lose and you're getting swept. And like, I think you nailed you hit the nail on the head. You nailed the nail on the head. Last night in the group chat, we were talking about it. The Rangers, I mean, obviously this isn't exactly, I'm kind of exaggerating here, but I feel like every time the Rangers score is from like 4 feet away. Like I just feel like they're getting like really, really high danger chances. If the Rangers beat you 3 games straight, then it is what it is, man. The Rangers is their President's Trophy champs. They won the division. They're a great team. But you got to make them like work a little bit harder for those scoring chances. I feel like every 5 minutes, the Rangers have like a really, really good scoring chance. So, Brent Burns has been demoted throughout this playoff series. Like I'm just really, I don't know. I knew that the Rangers were going to win that game last night. I knew that they were going to win the series. The Rangers are just out for blood right now. I've said it time and time again. How their playoffs ended last year, I think really, really stuck with them. Now, as far as the Canes go, I don't really know what you specifically point at and look, because you said it, like the power play has been a problem. The penalty kill has been a problem. 5-on-5 has been terrific. But then the 2 goalies that you have, like, no offense to the rookie, he did what he had to do last night. Yes, Shesterkin's been very good, but you said it, man. Like all these shots are going right at his chest. Like, I don't know. The whole reason why they got Jake Gensel is because in that conference final last year, they couldn't score. And he did his part last night. He got a goal, right? Like he got a goal. And Svechnikov got a goal. Like where's Jarvis? Where's Aho? Where's the rest of this team? Teravainen? Like, I don't know, man. I really like this Canes team. They're Stanley Cup contenders. John, you've been pumping their tires since the beginning of the playoffs. But I just, something's missing. Something's missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it. The Rangers, I mean, is this too cheesy, too sports cliche? I know both teams are hungry and both teams want to win, but when I'm watching the games on the ice, forget statistics, forget analytics, the Rangers just look hungrier, man. They just look like they want it more. You can speak to this, Andre, the camaraderie of this Rangers team. Like that's something I find very interesting because I've been watching the Rangers all year. I watch all these teams all year long, but I don't follow the Rangers super closely. I'm not watching all their press conferences. I'm not, reading all the articles from the New York Post or whatever sports section in a magazine. I just watch the games and kind of move on. But this team looks really, really close. Like they look like they legit like love each other. Like it just feels, you know what I mean? It just feels like they have each other's backs. They're there. That whole little adorable huddle they did after practice, the other night. Like I just really, really believe in this team, man. And that game last night, I don't care. Florida, Boston, I don't care. I think the Rangers are just on another level right now. I'll quickly add this before we go to you, John, because I can't go through a whole segment without talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Today, they have a press conference regarding their coaching change and all that kind of stuff. And FanDuel, at least here in Toronto, I don't know about FanDuel down there, but up here, there's odds on the new head coach for the Maple Leafs. And Craig Berube's up there. You have Bruce Boudreau down the list. There's Joel Quenneville's on the list. There's what's his name from the Kings? Tom McClellan, he's on the list. I'll tell you who's on the list at plus 900. And if I'm the Maple Leafs, I'm not doing anything until Sunday morning, the morning after the Hurricanes get swept by the Rangers and Rod Brind'Amour becomes a free agent. That guy is a really, really good coach. And I think that the players are being outplayed by the Rangers players. I don't put this on Brind'Amour. I don't put this on coaching. I think the Rangers are just outplaying the Hurricanes when it matters the most. And when Rod Brind'Amour becomes a free agent, the Maple Leafs got to swipe on that guy because he is awesome. And it's unfortunate to see the way this team keeps bowing out in kind of anticlimactic fashion. Like, it's like, I don't know. I think they're getting swept tomorrow, man. I think the series is done, but we'll see what happens. John, what about you, man? What did you see in that game last night?
I think they're getting swept tomorrow too. I think this. I think this series is done. I really do. Like, there's only been 4 teams to ever come back from 3-0, but last night's game very much felt like the last stand for Carolina, in my opinion. I said on yesterday's show, I felt like I think Mark and I both alluded to this. It felt like the time for Carolina to really try to shake things up, to try to change the course of this series. And they did it. I alluded to it in the preview yesterday, but they benched Anderson. They started the rookie, and I felt like they needed to. I felt like that was the right decision. And credit to the rookie. I don't think he played too badly in that game. Igor just got him in the end. And Andre said this in his recap, that the Rangers had the right opportunity in front of the net in overtime to win that game. But I would argue game 3 was a more brutal loss than even game 2, and that was a double overtime loss. I think that was Carolina's chance to really change the course of the series and to start fresh, because they had a new goalie in net. They were trying different things that just didn't work in the first 2. And it felt like Carolina had a chance to get back in this series if they could just manage to get that one crucial goal that they needed. And I agree, the Rangers are doing things differently this year, because last year they choked in that spot. The Devils did the exact same thing after the first 2 games when they went down 2-0. They benched Vanacek in favor of Schmid, the young kid, and the kid went on to win the series. I felt like that was an opening for Carolina to do the same, but credit to the Rangers, they did not let that happen. And maybe Mark's onto something about them wanting a little redemption after last year. I think Igor deserves a lot of credit. We mentioned this already. He has an incredible playoff streak going on, and he only allowed 2 goals off of, I think, 45-something shots yesterday. And maybe they weren't the best quality of shots, as Andre alluded to, but he's still facing the puck quite almost at double the rate that the rookie was yesterday. Because I think Carolina had almost 50 shots on goal last night, maybe just under. Rangers had, 25 shots on goal? Maybe better quality, but I think my point is, I think Igor still deserves a lot of credit for what he has done in this series, and I think he's been quite the stable goaltender for the Rangers and really putting this team over the top. And I think what Igor has done, and the Rangers, I don't think have a real weakness right now. That's something I can't say the same when it comes to the Hurricanes. The Rangers, I think the closest thing to a weakness I've seen is that they've allowed maybe too many shots on goal 5-on-5, but they're not giving up anything that kills them with Igor. You know what I mean? So I think that's maybe the one thing that can take on the Rangers for a bit. And Trouba had a bad game in game 2. You got to make sure that doesn't happen again. So maybe those 2 things. Other than that, I can't think of a real weakness for the Rangers right now. And these are very minor things that you can fix easily. I don't know if I could say the same about any other team in the playoffs that's still left. And the Rangers are 7-0 so far. I think sometimes I forget they haven't lost a game yet. And this is the first time they've done that since '94, and we all know what happened that year. When it comes to Carolina, I think there's two things I would address there. One, the goaltending. I think the Rangers have had a huge advantage there with Igor playing as well as he is, and I just don't think Carolina is getting the Stanley Cup champion goaltending that they need from either guy that's been in net. I think the rookie did better than Anderson for sure, but I still don't think he put them over the top the way he really needed to, or that Carolina really needed to against Igor. The second thing is the power play situation. I don't think I realized how bad this was until last night. We talked about the Rangers' power play goals in the first two games, but I really want to address the lack of power play success that Carolina has had. They haven't had a power play goal in the entire series, and I think they've had maybe 15 chances to do it already. And we talked about teams that didn't really do it in the first round, but Carolina's getting shut out. And the Rangers, I believe, had a shorthanded goal last night too. So I think the power play unit specifically for Carolina, I think has been a real weakness. And it's unlike them because it's not like this team was terrible in the regular season. They had about 26% success, something like that. It's not down. And Carolina's not taking advantage of the other aspects outside of 5-on-5. Like 5-on-5, I think they can keep up with anybody, but I think everything else around that, the other things you need to win these close games against talented teams, Carolina's lacking in that, and I think that's why they're going home tomorrow.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, Andre, you tell me, dude. Like, if I'm Shesterkin, like, yeah, shoot 45 pucks at me. I don't care. Like, yeah, they got a lot of shots on, but I feel like the Rangers defense is really keeping the shots like super low risk. Like you said, like there's odd times where there's like a high danger chance or whatever, but for the most part, like as a goaltender, keep shooting the puck at me from the blue line so I can feel the puck. Like keep shooting the puck at me from the sidewall so I can get comfortable and get used to the, like, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like to me, it's like I would rather get 26 shots on net with half of them being really good looks than 47 shots on net with like 5 good looks. You know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, really interesting stuff. We'll talk about it tomorrow too. Like, you would think that the Canes would be able to salvage at least one game here. But I just think the Rangers are on a mission, man. We'll see what happens. And I can't wait till next Wednesday's press conference when Rod Brind'Amour is proclaimed the head coach to finally take the Maple Leafs to the promised land. All right. Last night, the fact that Rod Brind'Amour, I know he's about to lose. I know. The fact that he doesn't have an extension, it still blows my mind. Like, maybe the Kane fans want him gone. I don't know. The guy, anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Last night, the Dallas Stars go up 4-0 and were this close to choking away another 3+ goal lead. They ended up getting the job done, scoring the empty netter, winning the game 5-3. John, what's your takeaway from the Dallas Colorado game last night?
Well, I clearly overreacted yesterday, thinking Colorado might sweep them. So I'll just get that out of the way now. I mean, I'll say this, though. I don't think either team is playing that well in this series. Like, I think both teams have failed to really have a complete game in the first two games. It just feels way too streaky on both sides. Like, Colorado's starting way too slow in both of these games. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Like, when they get back to Ball Arena, Colorado cannot afford to have a flat first period again. Like, they almost got burned twice doing that. And Dallas, they kind of have the opposite problem. They're not I think they do a good job in spurts maintaining defensive pressure because you're right, they do have a good defensive unit. But when Colorado breaks through, they seem to really break through because they in both of these games they scored 3 goals like it was nothing. So I think that's something Dallas needs to address as well because it seems like they can force great defensive pressure for a temporary period of time, but against this Colorado unit, they can't seem to keep that up for a full game. So I think both of these teams need to address those issues because neither one of them is really playing like a Stanley Cup champion right now. I mean, you can't be this streaky against some of the more talented teams in the league and expect to advance. With that said, Colorado, I think the fact they're putting this much pressure on Dallas 2 games in a row, despite having who I think is the inferior goaltender, because I haven't seen anything that impresses me with him compared to Ottinger. I still feel very good about Colorado's chances of winning this series, and I would still be willing to bet they take the next 2 games, despite what happened yesterday. I think I just underestimated Dallas's ability to win at home and keep up the defensive pressure. Credit to them for coming back, by the way, like from that game 1 loss. I thought that might demoralize them a bit more than it turned out to. I still like Colorado's chances of winning the series, though. I don't. The Dallas hanging on to leads really concerns me, especially now that they have to play in a tough environment like Colorado. Colorado's like nearly unstoppable at home, but also like you're playing with the altitude in effect too. I don't know. I don't know what that'll mean for Dallas, but I would be willing to favor Colorado in the next 2 at least. I guess my takeaway is I haven't been overly impressed with either of these 2 teams, despite the raw talent that both of them have. And I think both of them could be playing a lot better. And it might come down to the first team to really play a complete game to win the series, because I don't think either one has so far.
I mean, I feel like this is kind of like, listen, Dallas doesn't want to keep going up. Like, you don't have to go up 4-0 and then, hold on for dear life at the end. That's not the best recipe for success. However, you have, this is why I gave Dallas a really good chance in this series, is because Dallas is a very good offensive team. Like, we all know what Colorado can do, but we've been saying it all year, man. Every Dallas game, take the over and you're going to win more than you lose. Like, this is how Dallas has been all year long. Yes, Ottinger can be scary at times, both for good and bad. But more often than not, Dallas is going to score 3+ goals. They just are. And so to me, like, what did I say the other day? Like, you have to put shots on net. They had 22 shots in game 1. They ended up getting 31 last night. I trust, like, offensively, yes. First kind of take at it, you would prefer Colorado's offense to Dallas's offense based on who they have. Like, they have McKinnon and Rantanen. Like, they have very, very good players. But defensively, I'm taking the Stars. And goaltending, if Ottinger is Ottinger, then I take that. So to me, I just feel like you got to stop playing with fire. Like, when you go up 4-0, like, it would be really good for Dallas to win a game like 4-1 and just be like, okay, but that's not going to happen. This is what this whole series is going to be. And I just really do. I don't know. Like, yes, like I just said, yes, you take Colorado's offense, but Dallas has a very, very good offense. And when they're playing their best, they have a very good defense. You're not going to hold the Avalanche. I think so. the first round against the Jets was 5 games. This is 2 games. 5 plus 2 is 7. Huh? Some quick math there. And this is the first time the Avalanche has scored less than 4 goals in the playoffs. And game 1 was the first time they scored less than 5 goals. So this is what you're going to get from Colorado. They're going to get 3. They just are. And you just have to be just that little bit better to get the win. I'm expecting a split in Colorado. I know that Colorado is a good team a phenomenal team on home ice. I'm well aware. I'm expecting this game to go or this whole series to go punch for punch, man. And we're going to get the game 7 that we should have gotten in New York and Carolina. We're going to get it with this series here. Andre, what did you see in that game last night?
Yeah, well, I agree with both of you to differing extents. I think I'm just kind of in the middle where I think the Avs are going to win this series still. When they turn on the Jets, their offense is inevitable. And for as well as Dallas is defensively, as good as Oettinger can be and probably will be moving forward, this Avs offense is inevitable. And I think we've seen the best of Dallas trying to slow them down. And I think that was yesterday when they almost blew that lead. The empty net chances that Colorado had, I guess they had a 6-on-4 power play too. I know Stars didn't give up the game-tying goal, but they were very close a couple of times. So, I mean, if you're the Stars, you did what you had to do. You got out of there with at least 1 win. But now you get that altitude change on top of just the hostile environment. You got an offense that you can't stop. If you score 5 goals, if you're the Stars, you have to feel good about your chances of winning. But even for a team like Colorado, where Georgie is the weakness, if you can get back there, I don't think you can expect to score 5 every time you take the ice in the playoffs, especially if you're only getting 25 shots or whatever. It's just not feasible. They have 30 yesterday and they got 4. So that's not, especially in Denver, I don't think that's enough, honestly. So I'm expecting this series when it goes back to Dallas to be 3-1 Avs. And not because the Stars are doing anything wrong, especially offensively. It's just I don't think shot for shot, if that disparity stays even, I don't think they can keep up with Colorado. And I don't think any team can if you're not gonna, keep them outside or just keep them in the defensive zone for a long time. It's just you give them enough chances, you should expect 5 goals on the board from Colorado, especially in Ball Arena.
Yeah, this is a really, really fun series, man. I don't know. I'm a lone ranger here on this show, but I believe in this Dallas team, man. There's something about this team that I really like, and we'll see what happens with it. Now, as a fan and an observer of the sport, we all want a Colorado Edmonton conference final. Like, that would be the best series of the playoffs by far. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow night is game 3, 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So after the Rangers sweep the Canes, keep the TV on, and Stars and Avalanche. I know Andre's getting nervous and me keep talking about a sweep, but I believe it. All right,
Mark said it, not me.
Oh man, I'm confident about it, man. I love it. All right, let's move on. 2 games tonight. Florida in Boston to kick it all off. Game 3, series tied 1-1. Boston wins 5-1. Florida wins 6-1. 190 penalty minutes spread across 2 hockey games. It has been a gong show all the way across. Boston plus 105, underdogs at home. Florida minus 125. The over is 5.5 at plus 100. Tell me how you get 6 goals and 7 goals, and the over is plus 100, and it's only 5.5. I don't understand it. The under is minus 120. Minus 1.5 for the Panthers is plus 210. Plus 1.5 for the Bruins, minus 258. John, let's start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
To explain the over-under, I feel like it's because both in the first 2 games, we've seen one of these teams just completely blow out the other. And like Bobrovsky and Swayman, you would think they're due to not, for both of them not to let that happen again. Because I think each of them, it's fair to say each of them have had a bad game in this series so far.
Yeah.
That would be my theory with the over-under. With that said, I don't think I would touch it tonight personally. While I don't think either team is scoring 5 goals, the total is scaring me just because of the disparity we've seen in the first 2 games. And I think both of these goalies are going to give up more than 1 tonight too. So that would also concern me with an empty netter perhaps ruining the over-under. This is going to sound weird, but I kind of like Boston tonight. I think it's because they're going back to their home ice, and TD Garden is electric. First home game of the series, the last time they played in that arena was Game 7 against Toronto. I do think that is a factor for me here. But one thing I'm going to add too is that I feel like Swayman's bouncing back tonight. I don't expect him to be like Game 1. I don't expect him to be at the same level as Toronto, but I don't think he's given a 4 again, 2 games in a row at least. And if he does, I've said this pre-show with you guys, if he does give up 4 again, you might be looking at Ullmark starting Game 4. But I think tonight it's Swayman's job to lose. I wouldn't really worry about that. For him and the Bruins, I think he's earned another chance to redeem himself with how well he was playing before Game 2. I feel like he'll probably allow like 2 goals tonight, something like that. But I do think home ice combined with Swayman, me expecting him to have a bounce back game. I do slightly like Boston here. I think I would stick with the money line. I expect this to be a close, competitive game. It might even go to overtime. And I agree with Mark in that it's probably going to take with something he said about the Bruins in a previous show. It's probably going to take a Florida mistake for Boston to come out on top. But what I like about Boston is that they don't really make a ton of egregious mistakes themselves. So I feel like if they could play a clean game and Swayman can get back to close to what he was, I think the home ice will put him over the top tonight. So give me the Bruins.
All is right with the world. I very aggressively disagree with John. Like massively, big time.
We're getting back to normal.
Yeah, the world's getting back to normal. In a world of chaos, you can trust on this show certain things to slow things down and make everything right. I think that Boston's getting spanked tonight. I right now on DraftKings, and I know that Coach Montgomery does this. Like, I don't know who'll start tonight. We'll see. I would expect Swayman to start. His numbers are not on a book yet. This is my thing. Boston. Okay. I watched that whole series against the Leafs, obviously. Watch both these games tonight. Boston needs Swayman to win. They're not going to now. They won 5-1 in Game 1 of this series. Bob could not get a save. However, when you only allow one, you play more confidently. The kind of game goes on. Boston does not start games strongly. They haven't all playoffs long. They haven't started overly well. They don't create a lot of chances. They only had 15 shots the other night. That whole shenanigan filled, last half of the third period where there were 148 penalty minutes. When you're trying to drag Florida into the fight, I said this the other night, Florida, you don't drag Florida into the fight. You say, hey, Florida, come to a fight. And Florida's like, yeah, okay, no problem. Like, you're not dragging them into it. This is how they play. I'll say it like time and time again, like without Swayman, they're not in this series. And the way that they play overall just doesn't impress me. And I think that game one, Florida was waiting around at home. Bob had an off night. I think that's what you got to hope for if you're the Bruins, is that Bob has another off night, and you take advantage of the opportunities when you can. I just think that game the other night really showed the true colors of both these teams. And I don't think Boston can keep up with the Panthers from here on out. I just feel like that game the other night changed the tide. You're 100% right, John, about Swayman. You're absolutely right. Like, he has the talent and the ability to carry this Boston team through to the promised land. You can't, like, I just feel like the team isn't giving themselves enough opportunities to take advantage of it. Like that first round matchup against Toronto, there were two games specifically in that series where the Leafs said, here, have the game. We don't want it. Take it. And they did. Florida's not going to do that. And so I don't know. I appreciate Swayman. I get it. I mean, listen, 3 months ago when I had a little dad time to myself, a little time off, I was playing NHL 2024 as the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I traded for Jeremy Swayman. I love the guy. He's been great. He's on my team. I even have Lowry, the young defensive player for Boston. I love these players for whatever my, NHL history, whatever that means to you. All I'm saying is I just don't think that this Boston team has what it takes to go step for step with Florida. And I think that game the other night really exposed a lot of problems. And so I'm taking Florida. Minus 125 is very good value. I'm not scared of the puck line here at plus 210. I'm not. I can see, even if Swayman stands on his head, I can see a 3-1 game here. I just think Florida's too much. And I mean, the one thing that I can say that might swayman me into Boston win is I was really impressed with Pasternak stepping up against Tkachuk. I thought that was really, really cool moment to see a superstar offensive player put his face on the line and fight one of the toughest guys in the league. So that was a really cool moment, and maybe that can galvanize them. But I just think the Panthers are just too much, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Andre, what about you, man?
Well, first of all, I'm stunned that the higher seed is allowed to be favored by Vegas. That's crazy, but I've been kind of back and forth.
Yeah, you're not used to that, eh?
Nah, not at all. So my gut's telling me.
Rarity.
I don't know why my gut's telling me to roll with the Bruins. They're back home. They just got pummeled, but their best player stood toe to toe with Tkachuk. Like, send a message, fire up the boys. Like, we're not going anywhere. I really like that from them. I think they're gonna show a lot of heart in this game. like I think it was John that said they don't really make mistakes. They just kind of force you to beat them, and the Panthers are definitely capable of beating them. They're the better team, but it's TD Garden. It's a place where even though this Bruins squad lost a ton of OT games, you could trust them at home more often than not, especially defensively. Um, and that's why I know the first two games went over the total pretty much single-handedly by the winning team, but I do like the under in this one. I don't trust Boston's offense. That's why I'm not going balls to the wall, locking them in for the money line. Their last 5 games, you look at the goals scored in 60 minutes. It's 1, 1, 1, 5, and then 1. 3 of those were against the Leafs. And Mark, I think we can agree that your boys aren't known for their defensive prowess. So
Right.
it's really concerning that they just can't score multiple goals consistently. Not even consistently. It's an oddity when they've been doing it lately. So against the Panther squad that allowed the fewest goals per game this year, Bobrovsky's phenomenal. They're physical. That's alarming. It's very alarming. I'm giving the Bruins a chance in this one, mostly because I think Swayman's going to bounce back. I know that defense is good. I know that PK is good. I know they can keep this tight. So maybe a 2-1 Panthers win in OT is kind of how I'm reading it. But I think I'm going to take the Panthers. Not too confident on that. I'm very confident on the under, though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. Maybe I just hate Boston. Maybe that's where we're at. Maybe I just can't get over it.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Speaking of which, not hating Boston, but speaking of number 1 seeds not being favorites, your boys are plus 124 tomorrow night, bro. Which I feel like is a bit, because what were they yesterday? Like plus 142 or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think plus 124 is a tad bit more respectful, but Carolina on the other
Sportsbooks are admitting defeats.
well, Carolina's minus 148. It's not like Carolina's like minus 115. Like Carolina's still heavy favorites. Just the Rangers aren't as much of an underdog. So I don't know. Take that for whatever it's worth. But you know what, Andre, I like your assessment of this game tonight. I hope it doesn't go to overtime, though, because I don't want to miss 1 minute of this Edmonton-Vancouver series. What a game we had where both teams didn't really play that spectacularly, but Vancouver found a way to come back from a 4-1 deficit to win 5-4 in regulation, nonetheless. Vancouver plus 105. That is now actually moved to plus 110. The Vancouver Canucks are plus 110 at home. Edmonton minus 130 now on the road. The over is 6 at minus 122. The under is plus 102. Minus 1.5 for the Oilers is plus 200. Plus 1.5 for the Canucks is minus 245. Andre, what do you got in this game?
The Western Conference is cracked up these days. What's going on out there? No
I know.
lead is safe.
I know. 3 games.
Also, all comebacks, or well, I guess the Avs didn't finish theirs yesterday, but just you can't miss a second of these games. It's nuts. That loss, it's annoying, inaccurate to pin a loss on one guy, but Skinner had an awful game for Edmonton.
Yes,
in the first game, played the puck outside the trapezoid. One of the dumbest penalties you can get, especially come playoff time. Let in some leaky goals, to say the least, in that comeback win for the Canucks. He's got to be better. He can't get outplayed by a third stringer. It's really that simple. The Oilers, I know Draisaitl's banged up now. I don't think he skated yesterday. Can't confirm anything for today, And obviously,
You didn't skate yesterday, yeah.
yeah, they're in Vancouver, so their morning skate has not happened yet. It's not even 8 o'clock there, but scoring won't be an issue in this series, I don't think. And I'm gonna stick with the over first and foremost. But this Canucks team, there's something about them. They have it. They just,
Yeah.
if it's a 1-0 game, they're the one with 1 goal. If it's a 5-4 game, they're the one with 5. If they're losing by 2 in the third period, they're the ones winning by 2 with a minute left. It's just something about this team right now. They're buzzing. They're playing complementary hockey, if you will. They're picking each other
Great
up.
word.
Great team. That's what great teams do. So they're at home. They just won game 1. I feel like Shilovs, I remembered. He got his blackout curtains now. He's got some good sleep going. I feel like he's actually going to be the better goalie in this series, or at least until Demko comes back for game 6 or whatever. I'm going to roll with the Canucks at plus 110. Home dogs. I think that's great value for him. The offense clearly is finding a way to score. They're getting enough stops against this team. Draisaitl, if he doesn't play, will obviously make a difference in that regard. Vancouver will have much less to worry about. So still love Zach Hyman. Probably going to bet his goals and shots again, but I'm taking the Canucks to win again.
I love that you mentioned the blackout curtains. That was so funny how Coach Tocchet was basically just like, this guy's so high maintenance. Like he went to the coach to ask for blackout curtains. Like, I don't know if Rick Tocchet is the guy you want to talk to get your hotel room blacked out. I don't know what. That was so funny to me. I'm like, yo, he's your goalie. You make him comfortable, but Rick Tocchet's probably like, I'm not the guy, man. Let me point you in a different direction. I'm right there with you. Could Edmonton win this game tonight? Of course. But listen, man, we talked, especially in the first half of the season, if Vancouver was plus money, Pucks Across Borders told you to bet Vancouver. Now, I know it's different. It's the playoffs. It's Edmonton. I get all of that. But I expect another Vancouver win tonight. What I will say, and I thought you break it down great. What I will say from a prop standpoint, for the first time in Connor McDavid's playoff history, and he has played a ton of playoff games in his career, for the first time ever, he was held off the shot portion of the score sheet. For him to get over 3.5 shots, let me just pull this back up. Over 3.5 shots for Connor McDavid is plus 124. So I expect Connor McDavid to shoot a lot tonight. I really do. Nobody likes getting held off the shot sheet, if you will. But Connor McDavid is going to take that personally, and he's going to find a way to get a ton of shots, especially if Draisaitl isn't playing at 100%. I would be surprised if he doesn't play, but just based on how he was moving the other night, I would also be surprised if he was 100%. So, and I mean, no one's 100% this time of year, but you know what I mean. So give me Connor McDavid over 3.5 shots at plus 124. I love that prop. Give me plus money for McDavid shots. Okay. Happily. And as far as the game itself goes, I'm taking Vancouver too. JT Miller is just playing at another level right now. The depth scoring for Vancouver has been tremendous. If you're talking about goal scorers, JT Miller's plus 175. I mean, you have Connor Garland's plus 295, Dakota Joshua plus 330. I don't know, Quinn Hughes plus 475. Any of those depth players, as far as goal scoring goes for Vancouver, I'm all over it. one of the craziest things that I've seen this morning, EP40, man, he's plus 225 to score. Has there been longer odds for him to score all year long? I would say probably not. This guy's a ghost right now, and they're still getting it done. And so I don't know what's going on. Is it Austin Matthews like where he's hurt and no one's going to say anything? I don't know. But I don't know. That part of this is crazy to me. You've won 5 playoff games. You've lost 2, and EP40 has been an absolute non-factor. That is really, really surprising to me. So that'll be interesting to see. But those are kind of the props that I'm looking at. I really, really like Connor McDavid over 3.5 shots, and I like Vancouver to win. One last point about the game. The over is 6 at minus 122. Andre, you said that you're taking the over. This is my advice for this series. If you're uncomfortable with the over, that's fine. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen. Don't bet the under. Just bet the over or don't bet the total. Because I can understand you being skeptical about it over. 6 is pretty high for the playoffs. We've been seeing 5.5s. Across the board, but don't bet the under. Just save your money for another bet or bet the over. That's the only way to really approach this, in my opinion. John, what do you see in this game tonight?
To co-sign the over tip, I don't think there's going to be a Western Conference game this round. I'd pick an under for the rest of this round at the very least. I include the Colorado-Dallas series in this too, because I think for both of these series, I'm going over pretty much every game, at minimum until Demko comes back, and even then, when he first gets back, I think I'd still pick an over. But I think it's safe to say for the rest of the second round, I'm going over in the Western Conference. So that would be my top betting recommendation from this game. As far as picking a side, I'm so torn in this game. My prediction was Edmonton to win the series, but I kind of agree with Andre that Vancouver's showing this spark, edge, whatever you want to call it, in the playoffs so far that I don't think I quite expected from them. And this goes back to the first round as well, because Vancouver showed some strong resiliency against Nashville, and not last night, game 1, the comeback against Edmonton was fantastic. I mean, Vancouver, they scored 4 unanswered goals in that game to get a huge win. Vancouver's, I think they have a very deep team. The Canucks maybe a little hurt in the goaltending position right now, but they've been managing to their credit. I mean, they're on their third string goalie, and they still won a first round series somewhat comfortably against Nashville. And their third string goalie has arguably been better than Edmonton's starting goalies so far. So I don't know who that says more about. What I will say is I called out Skinner immediately after game 1 for Edmonton. My gut feeling is I don't think he's going to be quite that bad in game 2. I'm not expecting him to be Bobrovsky or Swayman level or Igor for shutdown goaltender in game 2, but I don't think he's giving up 3 leaguey goals in 5 minutes again in this game. I think at the very least we can count on him to be a little better. So I think that will be a factor. But, man, I'm scared to bet against the Canucks right now because I swear in the first half of the year, I loved them anytime they had plus money. And it feels like we're coming back around to that for Vancouver. But I'm a little scared. I don't have a strong read on which side to take in this game. I think I would go over as my first bet. And, Mark, by the way, I agree with the McDavid take, too, especially if Draisaitl either doesn't end up playing or doesn't look good in the morning skate today, whatever. Like that seems like a very good prop to take, McDavid. For this, I do think Vancouver has a spark or an edge that I wouldn't be shocked to see them up 2-0. But at the same time, I feel like this Edmonton team is too talented, and I expect Skinner to bounce back a little bit, at least maybe allow 3 instead of 5. And Edmonton's capable of putting up 4 goals, especially putting up especially against a third string goalie. Um, I don't know. I feel like Edmonton is going to bounce back if I absolutely had to choose the side, but I think it's going to be very close, and I would not put my own money on either team in this game. I think I'd be putting all the money on the over instead. I just don't really believe in either goalie that much, but if I had to take a side, I think Edmonton bounces back just because I don't see this team going down 2-0, but the way Vancouver's playing right now, you just never know.
Well, Andre, I mean, John as well, you're a little bit like non-committal on who to take, but Andre, our Vancouver takes are changing the betting landscape in North American sports books because the odds are back to plus 105 for Vancouver. Vancouver money pouring in. We're changing lives over here. That's what happens, and I hope it works out. Because if not, it is what it is. I won't feel bad about it, but that's just how it is. And I mean, to your point, John, like Connor McDavid, like not only did he get 0 shots, he didn't really play well. Like he actually straight up didn't have a good game, and you're not going to get back-to-back clunkers from Connor McDavid. You're just not. All right, let's move on. Finish out the show. Only 2 games in the NHL tonight. We just went over them both. And let's finish out the show with our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, using our promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off every card in the entire store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons of cards in their store. And with our promo code SportsAddict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. That's the number 1, STRoundcollectibles.com. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off regular priced and sales priced items. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what's your best bet tonight in the NHL?
Man, I like those 2 totals. And I'm going to take the one with slightly better odds, and that's in the first game. So Panthers, Bruins under 5.5. The Boston forwards can't get anything going. Basically, just outside of game 1 of this series, they've been good for 1 goal a game in these playoffs lately. Game 2, they only had, I want to say, 15 shots on goal when the final horn sounded. So not generating anything. I don't think the Panthers have 6 in them again. I don't think they have more than 3 in them, honestly. So especially, I think Swayman's going to bounce back. I think that defense, that penalty kill is going to bounce back. So give me the under 5.5 in TD Garden tonight.
John, what about you, bro? What's your best bet?
I'm going to take the under total. I really like the over for Edmonton, Vancouver. And while I don't expect Skinner to give up 5 again, I think Edmonton's offense is going to show up tonight. I really do agree with Mark's take about McDavid. I feel like Edmonton's good for another 4 goals tonight. It's really just a matter of if they can prevent 4 goals from being scored. I think 6 or 7 goals from these 2 teams is reliable. And like I said during the preview, I feel like Vancouver's playing well enough to keep up with Edmonton. So give me the over 6 as my best bet.
So for my best bet, I actually have 2 best bets. I'm not, obviously we're only going to pick one of them. The one that I am going to pick for our best bet segment is Connor McDavid over 3.5 shots. That's plus 124, which I think is a very reactionary line. Like whether or not his recent games he's been hitting over or under shot totals, McDavid's props are always minus money or like even money you are rarely getting a plus 124 odds on a McDavid shot prop. So I'm jumping on it. Over 3.5 plus 124 for Connor McDavid's shots. The other prop that I really, really like, and I don't think you can use it as a same game parlay. That's why I'm kind of staying away from it as a best bet. But over 1.5 first period goals is plus 310, which I love. Believe there were two goals in the first period in the last game. Would any of you be shocked if Edmonton is up 2-0 again, or if it's 1-1 or even 2-1 going into the second period? I think over 1.5 total goals in the first period at plus 310 is beautiful. So I completely skewered that. That's in the first 10 minutes. Screw it. Love it. First 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes over 1.5 at plus 310. I knew that was too good to be true. All right. I completely butchered that, but you know what? I'll take it anyway. I'll stick to my guns. Whatever. No big deal. But my best bet is Connor McDavid over 3.5 shots plus 124.
I really like that one. I think he made some great points on that one. And he's the best player on the planet. So,
yep.
Never a bad time to bet on him. First best bet of the night. Get ready for the Royal Rumble in Boston. Under 5.5 is minus 120. You can parlay that with over 6 in Oilers at Canucks and Connor McDavid over 3.5 shots on goal. That together is plus 556. But Mark, I added over 1.5 first period goals just for fun because you said it, and it's plus 780.
Was it the over 1.5 in the first 10 minutes, or was it in the first period? It was
the first period. I couldn't find 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Well, everybody, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Shout out to First Round Collectibles, promo code SportsAddict for 10% off. Shout out to Total Apex Sports for having us on board. We appreciate you guys. Whether you're watching live or later in the day, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night. Bet safely, bet wisely, we'll win some money, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.